Again, I dare say that viewers have noticed that cancer of the prostate has been much in the news lately. There are efforts now to see how much it can be reduced by early screening. Health Secretary Wes Streeting is apparently considering telling the NHS now to screen all black men for cancer of the prostate. The reasons for this move are not being openly discussed, but they have a far wider implication for British society than just the detection of cancer. In Britain and America, where extensive medical records are kept, black men are known to have far higher rates of cancer of the prostate than any other group. This is because, for one reason, they have so much circulating testosterone in their bloodstreams, much higher levels than any other ethnicity. Testosterone stimulates and accelerates the growth of cancer of the prostate. There may be another reason, and I'll come to that shortly. Black men in the United States have on average 15% more circulating testosterone than white men. This came to light many years ago and has been confirmed in subsequent research over the following decades. The situation is similar in this country. In the description to this video, I give references relating to all this. Some of these references are a little old for a reason which I shall explain shortly. This extra testosterone might, some think, help to explain the prowess of black men on the running track and sports field. That is to say, they are very good at competitive sports compared to some ethnic groups. Of course, there could be a downside to this. High levels of this hormone are found not only in those who excel in some sports, but also among violent criminals in prison. Those who have faced disciplinary action in prison for clashing aggressively with warders are found to have higher levels of testosterone than usually expected. This is not a specifically ethnic thing. This is also the case with white men and other ethnicities. High testosterone is associated with increased aggression and violence. One remembers the old myth about black men being better performers sexually than white men, and also the persistent suspicion which many white people entertain that black men are more aggressive and potentially violent than other ethnicities. Here is, of course, scope for research. The problem is that funding or sponsoring research which might result in the confirmation of so-called racist stereotypes is a far from tempting prospect for most charities or universities. It's likely to generate bad publicity and a dubious reputation. Many of the more intriguing snippets of information which have emerged in the last 40 or 50 years have fallen swiftly from sight, as nobody seems eager to pursue the subject. Only those who have already been branded as racists will usually touch this kind of thing with a view to following leads which might confirm any innate differences between one ethnicity and another. It is for this reason that neither Wes Streeting nor anybody in the National Health Service is going to explain publicly why black men are more at risk of this type of cancer. Nobody wants to mention testosterone. The reason for this kind of evasiveness is very simple. Once we start talking about such things as levels of testosterone in the body and other genetic factors, whether relating to cancer or intelligence, some people see this as a thin wedge, which ends with talk of eugenics and apartheid. This was the experience of David Reich, who set up a molecular biology laboratory in 2006 to try and find mutations which differed in frequency between West Africans and Europeans. Reich and his followers examined diseases ranging from prostate cancer to diabetes. It might be mentioned at this point that David Reich is no maverick or worker on the fringe of science. He is a professor in the Department of Genetics at Harvard Medical School. Studying 1,597 African American men with prostate cancer revealed that in one part of their genome, these men had about 2.8% more African ancestry than the average in the rest of their genome. According to Reich, the odds of this happening by chance were around 10 million to 1. Checking with other African Americans who had entirely European ancestry in the same section showed that they had no increased risk of prostate cancer. They were no more likely to develop it than other Europeans. The reaction to Professor Reich's research was fascinating and somewhat alarming. The champions of orthodoxy were anything but pleased to hear about the possibility of identifying genetic risk factors for a variety of diseases. When he unveiled his results in 2008 at a conference concerned with disparities in health between ethnic groups in the United States, he expected excitement at a new method for investigating better ways to deal with illness among minorities. Instead, an anthropologist who was present spoke angrily to Reich and accused him of flirting with racism. On another occasion, he was told that rather than talk openly about the different West African groups whom he was used to dealing with, he might be better advised to refer to them as Cluster A and Cluster B. These two factors, both a genetic predisposition towards cancer of the prostate and also the increased levels of testosterone, are what makes black men more at hazard for this particular cancer. It is the wider implications of this that nobody is keen to explore. The onset of puberty, which occurs on average a year earlier in black children than in whites, for example, that after the onset of puberty, black youths usually have more testosterone circulating in their bloodstream than white boys. This might have the effect of exacerbating any inclination both to engage in physical activity and also to challenge authority. In the United States, it has been observed that higher levels of testosterone in inmates of the prison system correlate to increased incidence of confrontations between such prisoners and guards at the prison. These three things, I'll say limit myself to two of them, say gross motor development and puberty, might work together to make black pupils more at hazard of getting into trouble at school and failing academically, more likely than other ethnicities, that is. This would provide an alternative explanation to that of differing IQs. You won't be reading about any of this in the mainstream media, by the way. There is a decision made to screen black men for prostate cancer, you won't be hearing the word testosterone mentioned.